Hey lovelies, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video we are going to be learning how to make a bustier pattern with snatched waist. So if that's what you're interested in, please stay tuned and watch till the end of this video. Thank you. Starting off, I already went ahead to mark out a few of my lines. So that's my shoulder line, my shoulder to nipple point, my shoulder to under bust, and my front length line. So now what I'm going to do is mark out my chest line. So my chest line for my front is the same for my back. So I'm just going to mark that across. So moving on, I'll mark out half of my shoulder measurement at my chest line and at my shoulder line, and I'm going to use a straight line to connect. After that, I'll come to my waistline to mark out my bust span measurement. So I'll leave the formula to get your bust span on the screen. So you mark that at your waistline, your under bust, and your nipple points, and you use a straight line to connect. So you go ahead to mark out your shoulder darts. So for that, you find the midpoint of your shoulder and you connect from that midpoint to your dart line. So because this is going to be a snatched waistline, we'll be creating an inbuilt for it. So what you do is from your front length, you are going to mark out your hip line, which is what you normally use from your waist to your hip. That's what you are going to mark out from your front length. Then you use a straight line to connect. After that, you go ahead to mark out your bust span measurement at your hip line also, because you'll be connecting your dart to that point. So now you rule a straight line to connect it to your front length. So now going to our waistline, which is our front length, we are going to take out our dart of 1.5 inches. So we are taking 0.75 from both sides of our dart leg. So you go to your hip line and you will come up from your hip line by 2 inches because you'll be connecting your dart to that point. So now you connect that 1.5 inches of dart intake from your waistline to your nipple point. After connecting to your nipple point, you are going to connect it back to your hip line. That 2 inches you came up from your hip line by, you connect it to that point. So just take a look at what I'm doing in the video. So we're going ahead to snatch the waist. Now to get a proper waist snatching, all you have to do is minus the amount of inches you need to take out of the waist measurement. Now I'm working with a waist of 36 inches and I want the waist to sum up to 32 when I'm done. So I'm just going to minus 4 inches from my 36 inches and I'll divide that by 4 and I'll add my 1.5 inches of that intake and I'll mark that at my waistline. So after marking it at my waistline, I'm going to connect from my waistline to my bust point and from my waistline to my hip line, just as you see me doing in the video. So what I'm doing now is taking out my bust dart of 2 inches. You take your bust dart from your shoulder to nipple point line downwards. So you connect with a straight line to your nipple point. We'll go ahead to snatch our under bust. To snatch your under bust, all you have to do is mark out your round under bust divided by 4. Indicate that with a point, and whatever you have from that point to your line connecting your waist to your bust point, you can either decide to divide it into 2 equal halves or uneven parts. Like me, I divide mine into unequal parts. So I give the largest part going to your side seam and the smallest part going to your center front. So you mark this from your already existing dart leg, not your bust span line, but that leg and you connect with your pattern master to create your bust curve. After that, you connect with a straight line down to your hip line. So you're just going to come out from your bust band line at your hip point by 0.25 and you connect everything down. So you are going to see excess at your center front, but don't be alarmed. That's completely normal. You are just going to clean off the excess. So I went ahead to shade off that part so you know that's what we are cutting off. Now what I'm going to do is my over bust tightening. So for my chest line, I'm going up by 2.5 inches and I'll connect with a very short line. After connecting with that short line, I'm going to take out 0.75 from both sides of my dart leg. That's going to give me 1.5 inches of dart intake, and I'm going to connect this to my nipple point with a straight line. So after that, I'll be creating my neckline. So it depends on the picture you are working with, but mine is just a regular sweetheart neckline. So just take a look at how I'm placing my curve to give me that shape, and I'm going to connect it to my chest line. So after that, I'll place my pattern master again to connect from the other darts to my armhole. So pay attention to how I'm placing my pattern master to create the curve. So after that, I'll be creating the inbuilt extension. So at my side seam, I'll go down by 5 inches, and from my center front, I'll go up from my hip line by 2.5 inches, and I'm going to connect that together with a curve from my pattern master. So just take a look at what I'm doing in the video. So now what I'm doing is basically creating the extension for my bustier. So after that, I'm going to trim my dart. So what that means is just mark out the two dart leg to make sure that they are equal, and if they are not, you like extend the part that is shorter to make sure they are equal. So just use your tape, or better still, you slash your dart line and close up your bust dart to see if they are equal. So now I'm just shading out all the part that I'm going to cut out, and that will be it for the front pattern. So moving on to the back pattern. So I'll go ahead to mark out half of my shoulder measurement at my chest line and my shoulder line, and I'll connect with it straight. After that, I'll mark out my back length, and what your back length is usually your front length minus the inches you took out for your bust dart. So in my case, my front length is 19 and I took out 2 inches for my bust dart, so my back length is going to be 17 inches, and I'm going to use a straight line to connect. From my back length, I'm going to extend to my hip line by 9 inches, which is what I'm using for my hip line measurement. So I'm going to mark that and connect with a straight line. After that, you go ahead to mark out your bust band measurement at your hip line, at your back length, and at your chest line, and you use a straight line to connect. So after connecting everything, you go up from your hip line by 2 inches, just as we did at the front, and you are going to collect 1.5 inches of that intake at your back length line. So that's 0.75 from both sides of your dart leg, and you will connect it the same way we did at the front. You connect it to your hip line and you connect it to your chest line. After that, at your back length line, you are going to mark out your waist circumference divided by 4 plus your dart intake, which is the 1.5 inches. So the waistline you are marking now is your new waist circumference, the new waist circumference, which is already snatched waist circumference. And you are going to connect that to your chest line and your hip line. So now I'm going to come down from my back length with 5 inches, and I'm going to take that at my side seam and my center back, and I'll connect with a straight line. You can either do this or you can decide to do it the same way we did at the front part, which is what I'm showing you right now, which is going up from your center back with 2.5 inches and connecting it from your side seam to that line. So I'm going to use a broken line to indicate. Basically what I'm doing is creating the extension for the back. So now from my chest line, I'm coming down by 1.5 inches and I'm going to connect that to my armhole because I don't usually use a straight back. So now I'm going to create my back yoke. So depending on the picture you are working with, you can create your back yoke however you want. Now I'm going to take out 0.25 inches from my back yoke to create some kind of a tightening for it. So to avoid gaping at your yoke, this is what you would normally do. So depending on how exposed you want your back opening to be, I'm taking out 2.5 inches from my chest line and 2 inches from my extension my back length extension, and I'm going to connect with a straight line. So you can use 1.5 inches, you can use 2 inches depending on how exposed you want yours to be, and I will indicate with the circles to know that this is where my lacing is going to be. And I'm going to use my marker pen to label out everything so I don't get confused. So I'm shading out the part that I'm going to cut out.